In this Model Right video, we'll be looking at an informal letter with, of course, the question and answer for it. So, let's dive into this lesson now. Here is our informal question. Your English-speaking friend who lives in your town has asked for your advice about learning a new sport. Write an email to your friend. In your email, recommend a new sport for your friend to try. Explain how your friend could learn this sport. Suggest that you both learn the sport together. Okay, so let's highlight some key information from the topic statement in our question. English-speaking friend. So friend here is, of course, the key word. I now know it will be an informal letter. They live in my town, our town, together. Something that I might want to mention, possibly. But the real key point of the statement here is asking for advice. So I'm giving advice to my friend about learning a new sport. And that identifies the purpose of the letter. So I'm giving advice, I'm recommending. Write an email to your friend in your email. Okay, and some key information from the bullet points. There's quite a bit of information within these bullet points too. So recommend a new sport for your friend. So something new that they haven't tried before. Explain how your friend could learn and suggest that you learn the sport together. So you can kind of talk about, oh, let's do this together, maybe in a few different ways. Okay, so pretty straightforward question here, giving advice to a friend, recommending a sport that you think that they should try, and going into a bit of detail. And of course, the bullet points, super useful. They tell us how to structure our paragraphs, but also what to put in them. So let's take a look at a plan now. Okay, so the plan is informal, as we said. We're recommending a sport for our friend to try. We're also giving them advice in a way. It's kind of like a recommendation, advice type letter, advising them on a sport we think they like. So let's take a look at BP1. Recommend a new sport. And my P1 is squash. So I'll talk about squash. Maybe I'll give a little bit of detail about what squash is. Describe it quickly. And then also I'll say why it's suitable for my friend to learn it. Cheap, easy, can do together. Or pretty straightforward points to make there. So that will make up two key ideas in P1. Let's take a look at BP2. Explain how your friend could learn this sport. So how can they learn it? How can they play it? How can they try it? So P2, I can help. I'm going to say I'm still a beginner because actually, if we look at BP3, we're supposed to suggest to learn the sport together. So I'm being careful here with P2. I can help a little bit. I can say maybe I've done a few sessions. I'm still super beginner. But I can't say I'm an expert because then that would ruin BP3 and I'd lose marks for task achievement. So just being careful with that. I can help, but I'm still a super beginner. I still have a lot to learn. Also, how else can my friend learn? YouTube video, so I'll talk about that. Just a random idea I had that I thought might be useful for the letter. Okay, BP3. Suggest that you both learn this sport together. Okay, so I actually didn't really like this bullet point too much. Suggest that we both learn together. There doesn't really seem a lot of things that we can talk about there. Suggest that you both learn this sport together. I could simply write, I suggest we learn this together. Full stop, finish paragraph 3. So it doesn't really feel like BP3 gives you much meat on the bone, an idiom for you there. It doesn't give you a lot of range to explore, so I had to be a bit more creative. Suggest that you both learn this sport together, so I will. And I'll talk about, I know where we can learn it together, so I'll still answering the question. We'll both learn together. I know where, let's go there together. I'll maybe talk about the gym membership quickly. And also, what I'll say is that let's both learn this sport together and look to improve at squash together, because squash is a sport for two people. So it makes perfect sense that we learn it together. And maybe I can say get fit together also. So that's a run through of the plan. Again, your plan wants to be written really within a minute of seeing the question, jotting down your ideas, helping you structure your ideas for your writing. And also just remember, don't use long sentences in your plan. I see students do this all the time. Because students are in a frame, a mindset of everything has to be grammatically correct, they approach the plan with these long sentences. Use note language, just like I've used in the plan here. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct. You're not marked on your plan. Okay, so I think without further ado, let's begin our writing. Okay, as we said, this letter is informal, so let's just begin with hello, and I'm going to make up some name here. Let's just say, what should we say, Faye? Let's say Faye. Hello, Faye. And we're on to the introductory section here. I felt that took a little bit too much thinking to come up with a name then. Hello, Faye. And now I want to do my introduction sentence, which sets the tone and introduces the topic. I'm going to do this in one sentence. I normally do it in one or two sentences. If I do two sentences, I tend to do sort of a tone sentence to begin. Sort of like a hope everything's well, or if it's more formal, I hope this letter finds you well. And then I introduce the topic. But for this, I'll just do it in one to show you the difference. Let's just do, I'm just writing to give you a heads up. So I'll just talk about this. To give a person a heads up means to recommend or to tell them about something. So it's a colloquial phrase and a bit of an idiom that you can use in your informal letters too. I'm just writing to give you a heads up about a sport that I think you should really start playing. Okay, so sometimes what I might do is just a quick sentence here before this sort of topic and purpose sentence. I might do a short sentence before just saying, hello, Faye, hope you and the family are well, or hello, Faye, I hope that you're having a great week, or whatever it may be. And that's just to set the tone. And it's, kind of polite to do that as well. But I've decided in this just to go straight into this topic and purpose sentence for my introduction section. Hello, Faye. I'm just writing to give you a heads up about a sport I think you should really start playing. Okay, that'll do. So let's move on to our first paragraph. I'll just move this down, leave a line between. Okay, so BP1, recommend a new sport that would be suitable for your friend to learn. And in my plan, I said squash. I'll give a bit of detail on squash. Maybe I'll say that I gave it a go and really enjoyed it. I'd maybe describe it just quickly. Obviously can't go into too much detail because really looking for around 180 words, 200 words type length. And then I'll just say it's cheap, easy, and we can play it together. So, just read back. I'm just writing to give you a heads up about a sport that I think you should really start playing. Last week, I gave squash a go. I tried squash, more informal. I gave squash a go down at the local courts. I have to say, I absolutely loved it. You were looking to take up a new sport, right? Okay, so I've got this question in here. Rhetorical question, I'm not expecting an answer back straight away because, of course, we're writing. This is an email or letter, whichever it may be. But it's good to sometimes include these in our writing and especially informal letters too. You were looking to take up a new sport, right? Okay. Squash is such a simple, fun, and exciting sport. And I'm going to use an M dash. I'm sure you're going to love it. Okay, so squash is such a simple, comma for the list, fun and exciting sport. Some people put a comma after this, but I never do. I don't do it like that. And that's more of a style. Squash is such a simple, fun and exciting sport. I could full stop here, but actually I'm going to em dash to join the sentences a bit closer together and add a bit more detail. I'm sure you're going to love it. Let's just talk quickly about that it's cheap, easy, and we can do it together. But I might just quickly say, let me take a quick scan at BP 2 and 3 again, explain how your friend can do it, suggest we both do it together. I might just quickly say it's good exercise as well, because I haven't really described squash in much detail. Let's just read back. Last week, I gave squash a go down at the local courts. I have to say, I absolutely loved it. You were looking to take up a new sport, right? Squash is such a simple, fun and exciting sport. I'm sure you're going to love it. It's also a fantastic cardio workout. All one word there. Okay, it's also a fantastic cardio workout and only costs, so I'm just moving on to my second part of P1 in the plan, and only costs, let's just put a cheap price here, £5 per session. £5 per session. Let's say recommend a new sport, £5 per session. Suitable for a friend to learn. So I've sort of said my friend's looking to take up a new sport. I just maybe want to give a bit more detail. It's also a fantastic cardio workout and only costs £5 per session. I'm using quite a lot of simple, shorter sentences here, so I wouldn't mind putting a compound sentence together here to end this first paragraph. Let's just read back and then I'll think about adding this slightly longer sentence. Last week I gave squash a go down at the local courts. I have to say, I absolutely loved it. You were looking to take up a new sport, right? Squash is such a simple, fun and exciting sport. I'm sure you're going to love it. It's also a fantastic cardio workout and only costs £5 per session. Okay, let's just add something about we can do it. One of the great, actually in my plan I said can do it together, but I think I'll save that for P3 when I'm suggesting we both do it together. So what I might just say here, I might give a bit of detail maybe for this sentence. I'm kind of moving away from plan, but I'm just describing squash. I'm just going to maybe describe what it is. One of the best things about squash is that it's so easy to pick up, to start, because the rules, I'm going to add a bit of a complex sentence here, or at least as I understood them. I'll come back, I'll explain that just in a moment. Let's just read back. One of the best things about squash is that it's so easy to start because the rules, or at least as I understood them, seem so simple at first. You basically just hit the ball as hard as you can. Okay, I've already got an exclamation mark here. I'll leave it as that. Let's just read that back and I'll just give you a bit more information on this. One of the best things about squash is that it's so easy to start. Okay, so I'm adding this compound sentence here. The rules seem so simple at first. So I've got because, which joining these two independent clauses. And I've added this in as well, the brackets, to add some detail. And actually the brackets are a little bit humorous. One of the best things about squash is that it's so easy to start because the rules, or at least as I understood them, seem so simple at first. So always good to stick some brackets in if you can. You don't have to do it. You can still get, top band scores without brackets, but I like using a mix of different punctuation where I can. But you must use it accurately or it'll actually lower your mark. And here I'm just saying, or at least as I understood them, I'm basically saying I'm not an expert, so, don't think that I know everything about the sport. I'm not that smart yet. Seems so simple at first. You basically just hit the ball as hard as you can. Okay, so that first BP, recommend a new sport, suitable for a friend. I think that's kind of nailed it, really. I've given a bit of detail. I've said squash is, you're looking for a new sport. Squash is so simple. I'm sure you're going to love it. And I've given a bit of detail about costs and things just to pack out this first paragraph. So let's move on to BP2. explain how your friend could learn this sport. So I've already said it's quite simple. As I said, it's not that hard to get going with this activity. You'll notice I nearly wrote sport, but I feel like I'm repeating myself quite a lot now. So I'll try and use some synonyms for sport if I can. As I said, it's not that hard to get going with this activity. I've only done it a couple of times. But if you want to join, I'd be more than happy. I'd contraction, a bit more informal. I'd be more than happy to show you the real basics. Again, I'm a super beginner. Okay, so I didn't really want to be putting too many exclamation marks, like 2 in each. Maybe seems a bit much, but new paragraph, I can use 1 exclamation mark. Let's read this back. As I said, it's not that hard to get going with this activity. I've only done it a couple of times, but if you want to join, I'd be more than happy to show you the real basics. Again, I'm a super beginner. Okay, so I can help. How can the friend learn? Explain how my friend could learn looking at BP2. I've done that first bit, I can help. Let's now say also, I saw loads of really helpful videos on YouTube. So maybe you could give these a watch first. I'll send you the links shortly. Just a bit more detail there. Natural use of language. Also, I saw loads of really helpful videos on YouTube, so maybe you could give these a watch first. I'll send you the links shortly. Okay, I think that's a really slightly shorter but a pretty solid paragraph 2 answering that, explain how your friend could learn. And I'll move on to BP3. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this BP3, to be honest. It's not that open. Just saying, suggest that you both learn the sport together. And like I kind of joked earlier, I suggest we both learn the sport together. And full stop. Thanks. Goodbye, David. Now, this is kind of an example. This is really a bit of a learning point for you. Sometimes the bullet points won't be really open. So you're going to have to try and think a little bit creatively about how you can expand your ideas to match the content that is suggested. Well, it's not even suggested, that is dictated for you to include in your paragraphs. So that would not do. I can say that, but then I need to give a bit more detail. So BP3 suggests we both learn the sport together. Let's look at P3. I know where squashes for 2 people. I might start with squashes for 2 people, so perfect for us to do together. Let's say, I think we should really get into this together. After all, squash is a game for 2 people, so works. There's a bit of missing language there. It's almost too casual, so works for both of us. I'm missing the it. Now, English speakers often skip words, especially in their speaking or really informal writing, but I don't want to overdo the informalities. I need to be informal, but I don't want to sound like I'm talking to a friend at the pub or a restaurant. After all, squash is a game for 2 people, so it's perfect for me and you. Okay, so I've introduced this idea of that we both learn together. Now, I need to pad out, expand this paragraph to just give a bit more detail, which can at times be a bit difficult, but my plan is helping here. I can say, I know where. So let's try and talk about where we can go. Maybe I can even say when. I think we should really get into this together. After all, squash is a game for 2 people, so it's perfect for me and you. I know where and when the courts are open. So I'll send you the address and times. Just let me know if you're interested I'm going to use something more colloquial. If you're keen to join. And I'm going to leave it at that. That's a little bit shorter, but I think that's fine. We're probably hitting around that 150 word mark, or at least I hope so. I think, but that's fine. I'm just adding detail really to bulk out a little bit, but I'm pretty sure we're at 150 words here. Okay, so let's read back P3. Quickly, let's just look at BP3. Suggest we both learn the sport together. Okay. I think we should really get into this together. After all, squash is a game for two people, so it's perfect for me and you. I know where and when the courts are open, so I'll send you the address and times. Just let me know if you're keen to join. Quite a casual sign off. And I'm just going to do speak soon. Oop, not hashtag, David. And that brings me to the end of this task. And yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with that. I think that we have very much focused on the BPs, the bullet points, and this is definitely a band 9 answer. Yeah, an example of a letter recommending, I've just moved the screen slightly, recommending a sport for a friend.